Welcome, dear listeners, to another shadowed corner of the throne of nightmares, where the veils between the living and the forgotten grow thin, and the echoes of cursed bloodlines whisper secrets that were never meant to be unearthed. I am your host, the keeper of these forsaken tales, and tonight we descend into the fog-shrouded mists of late 19th century Massachusetts, a land where the Puritan ghosts of old still linger in the crooked branches of ancient oaks, and the sea crashes against jagged shores like the relentless pounding of a guilty heart. Imagine, if you will, the year 1897. The Gilded Age glitters on the surface, with its inventions and industrial marvels, but beneath it all festers a darkness inherited from centuries past. Electric lights flicker tentatively in the cities, yet in the rural enclaves, lanterns cast long, wavering shadows that seem to move of their own accord. It is a time when spiritualism sweeps the nation, with mediums summoning the dead in dimly lit parlors, and the boundary between science and superstition blurs like ink in water. Massachusetts, cradle of the American Revolution, also bears the scars of its witch-hunting frenzy 2 centuries earlier. The Salem trials, where hysteria claimed innocent lives and sowed seeds of eternal dread. Our story unfolds in the coastal town of Eldridge Hollow, a forgotten hamlet nestled between the whispering pines of Essex County and the unforgiving Atlantic. Here, the wind carries the salt of the sea mingled with the faint, acrid scent of burning herbs from old folk remedies. The townsfolk speak in hushed tones of the Blackwood family, a bloodline as twisted as the roots of the ancient yew tree that guards their ancestral manor. The Blackwoods trace their lineage back to Judge Ephraim Blackwood, a stern figure in the Salem witch trials of 1692, who condemned dozens to the gallows with unyielding zeal. His descendants inherited not just wealth from shipping and trade, but a curse whispered in local law that the spirits of the wrongly accused would one day reclaim their due, vanishing the family line into oblivion. It was in the autumn of 1897, as leaves turned blood red and fell like accusations from the sky, that the 3 cousins' mystery gripped Eldridge Hollow in a vise of terror. Edmund, Charles, and Eliza Blackwood, cousins bound by blood and fortune, gathered at Blackwood Manor to settle the estate of their late uncle, Silas Blackwood, a reclusive eccentric who had delved too deeply into occult tomes and forbidden rituals. Silas had died under mysterious circumstances, his body found contorted in his study, eyes wide with unspoken horror, clutching a yellowed parchment etched with arcane symbols. The cousins arrived on a storm-lashed evening, October 17th, as thunder rolled like the judgment of old gods. Edmund, the eldest at 35, was a stern banker from Boston, his face etched with the lines of ambition and secret vices. Tall and gaunt, with a mustache that hid a perpetual sneer, he carried the weight of the family name like a crown of thorns. Charles, 32, was the wanderer, a sea captain returned from voyages to distant ports, his skin weathered by salt and sun, his eyes holding the stormy depths of unspoken traumas. And Eliza, the youngest at 28, a spinster scholar with a keen mind for history and the esoteric, her delicate features framed by raven hair, hiding a spirit as fierce as the gales that battered the manor. As their carriage rattled up the gravel path, flanked by skeletal trees clawing at the sky, the manor loomed. A Gothic edifice of weathered stone, its turrets piercing the gathering dusk like accusatory fingers. Ivy clung to its walls like veins, and the windows stared blankly, reflecting the flickering lightning. Inside, the air was thick with the musty scent of decay. Polished oak panels absorbing the dim light of gas lamps, portraits of stern ancestors gazing down with judgmental eyes, and the faint, inexplicable chill that seeped from the very walls. That night, as the storm raged, the cousins dined in the grand hall, the fire crackling uneasily in the hearth, casting dancing shadows that seemed to whisper secrets. They spoke of inheritance, of Silas's vast fortune, hidden artifacts, and the cryptic will that demanded they spend 3 nights in the manor to claim their shares. Laughter echoed hollowly at first, but as the hours wore on, unease crept in. Eliza mentioned the family legend how Judge Ephraim had spared one accused witch, his own sister-in-law, only for her to curse him from the scaffold, vowing that his bloodline would dissolve into shadows when 3 hairs gathered under one roof. By midnight, the storm peaked, rain lashing the panes like frantic knocks from the beyond. The cousins retired to their chambers, but sleep evaded them. Strange sounds echoed through the halls, footsteps where no one walked, whispers in empty rooms, and a distant wailing that mimicked the wind but carried human despair. Then, one by one, they vanished. First, Edmund. His scream pierced the night, a guttural cry that ended abruptly. Charles and Eliza rushed to his room, finding the door locked from within, the key still in the latch. Forcing entry, they discovered nothing. The bed was rumpled, a candle guttered on the nightstand, but Edmund was gone. Only his nightshirt lay folded neatly on the floor, as if he had simply dissolved out of it. No footprints in the dust, no open windows amid the storm, just an unnatural cold that bit to the bone and a faint scent of brimstone lingering in the air. Panic set in, but the storm barred escape. Charles barricaded the doors, his sailor's hand steady but his voice trembling. Eliza, ever the rationalist, searched for logical explanations, perhaps a hidden passage, a prank. But as dawn broke weakly through the clouds, Charles disappeared next. Eliza heard a thump from the library, rushing in to find books scattered, a chair overturned, and Charles's pipe still smouldering on the desk. He, too, was gone, his coat draped over the chair as if shed in an instant. The room's only door had been in her sight, the windows sealed shut. Alone now, Eliza barricaded herself in the study, Silas's occult books surrounding her like silent sentinels. She scribbled frantic notes by candlelight, detailing the horrors, her handwriting growing erratic as shadows lengthened unnaturally across the walls. Whispers grew louder, names from the Salem trials. Abigail, Tituba, spectral voices accusing the Blackwoods of ancient sins. Then, as the clock struck midnight again, Eliza's final entry, "They are here. The vanished come to claim us. I feel the pull, the dissolving." Her journal was found the next morning by servants, but Eliza had joined her cousins in oblivion. The town constable arrived, summoned by terrified staff. The manor was searched top to bottom. No bodies, no signs of struggle beyond the disarray, no intruders in the locked house. The disappearances defied reason. 3 people erased from existence within a sealed fortress, leaving only their garments and an oppressive sense of watching eyes. Rumors spread like wildfire. Ghostly vengeance, a family curse manifesting, or something darker, a rift in reality itself. As weeks turned to months, sightings began, shadowy figures in the manor's windows, whispers on the wind calling names from 1692. Eldridge Hollow became a place of dread, the Blackwood bloodline seemingly extinguished overnight. Yet questions lingered. Were the cousins victims of supernatural retribution, or a more earthly plot veiled in mystery? Did Silas's occult dabblings summon forces beyond comprehension? Tonight, we peel back the layers of this enigma, delving into the narrative that has haunted generations. Prepare yourselves, for in the throne of nightmares, the past does not rest quietly. It reaches out, cold and insistent, drawing you into its embrace. Listen closely, and you might hear the faint echoes of 3 lost souls, begging to be remembered or avenged. Let us now step deeper into the heart of the tale, where the threads of fate weave a tapestry of terror. To understand the 3 cousins' mystery, we must first acquaint ourselves with the players in this macabre drama, the stage upon which it unfolded, and the insidious build-up of dread that preceded the fateful night. The Blackwood family was no ordinary clan. Rooted in the fertile soil of colonial Massachusetts, their fortunes sprouted from the transatlantic trade, spices, silks, and whispers of darker cargoes like opium and relics plundered from ancient tombs. Judge Ephraim Blackwood, born in 1650, was a pillar of Puritan society, his judgments swift and merciless during the Salem hysteria. He sentenced 27 to death, believing he purged the devil from the land. But folklore tells of his secret doubt, a vision on the eve of the executions, where spectral forms prophesied his line's end in thrice-fold vanishing. Generations passed, the family prospering yet plagued by misfortune. Children died young, fortunes ebbed mysteriously, and madness claimed several heirs. By the 19th century, the Blackwoods had retreated to Eldridge Hollow, a town founded by Ephraim's descendants as a haven from prying eyes. The manor, built in 1720, stood as a monument to their isolation, 3 stories of granite and secrets, with cellars rumored to hold witch trial artifacts, nooses, confession parchments, and a cursed mirror said to reflect not faces but souls. Silas Blackwood, the uncle, was the last direct heir before the cousins. Born in 1830, he inherited the manor at 40, transforming it into a repository of the occult. A scholar of the esoteric, Silas traveled to Europe and the Orient, collecting grimoires, crystal skulls, and tomes on alchemy. Neighbors spoke of strange lights in his windows, chants echoing at midnight, and visitors in hooded cloaks. His death in September 1897 was ruled natural, a heart failure, but the coroner noted his rigid pose, as if frozen in mid-scream, and odd markings on his skin resembling archaic runes. The will, read in Boston, stipulated that his 3 surviving kin, Edmund, Charles, and Eliza, must convene at the manor for 3 nights to divide the estate, or it would revert to the town. This clause, peculiar as it was, drew them together. Edmund arrived first by train from Boston, his valise heavy with ledgers. He viewed the inheritance as his due, having managed the family's finances with an iron fist. Rumors swirled of his gambling debts and a mistress in the city, but his demeanor was impeccable. Polished boots, starched collar, a watch chain glinting like a noose. Charles followed, docking his ship, the Ebon Tide, in nearby Salem Harbor. A life at sea had hardened him, scars crisscrossed his hands from ropes and brawls, and his tales of ghost ships and kraken sightings were dismissed as sailors' yarn. Yet his eyes held a haunted glint, as if he'd glimpsed abyssal truths. He brought gifts, exotic spices for Eliza, a jade idol for Edmund, both unknowingly laced with occult significance. Eliza came last, by carriage from Cambridge, where she studied at Radcliffe College, defying societal norms for women. A blue stocking with a passion for history, she had researched the family curse, dismissing it as folklore while secretly fascinated. Her trunk brimmed with books on spiritualism and psychology, her mind a fortress against fear. Their reunion was cordial but tense. Over dinner on the first night, amid silver candelabras dripping wax like tears, they reminisced. Silas's portrait hung above the mantel, his painted eyes following their movements. Conversation turned to the will's oddity. Uncle was always eccentric, Edmund scoffed, sipping port that tasted faintly of ash. Charles nodded, describing a storm at sea where whispers rode the waves. Eliza, sensing unease, proposed a tour of the manor. They wandered halls lined with relics, a grandfather clock that ticked irregularly, portraits where eyes seemed to shift, and the study, a chamber of wonders and horrors. Bookshelves groaned under volumes like The Key of Solomon and Necronomicon fragments. In the center, Silas's desk, where he died, bore a sealed envelope addressed to them, "Beware the gathering of 3. The past awakens." Dismissing it as dramatics, they retired. But the night brought portents. Edmund awoke to scratching at his door, finding only claw marks on the wood. Charles dreamed of drowning in dry air, waking gasping. Eliza heard lullabies from empty nurseries, songs from 1692. The second day dawned grey. They explored the grounds, the yew tree, gnarled and ancient, said to have been planted over a witch's grave. Locals avoided the path, claiming shadows lingered there unnaturally. Afternoon brought a medium from Boston, invited by Eliza for amusement, a Madame Voss, who conducted a séance in the parlor. The table trembled, candles extinguished, and a voice rasped through Voss. "The judge's debt is due. 3 shall fade into the void." Voss fled, terrified. The cousins laughed nervously, but tension mounted. That evening, as fog rolled in from the sea, enveloping the manor like a shroud, they dined again. Thunder grumbled, lightning illuminating grotesque shapes in the clouds. They spoke of dividing the fortune. Edmund claiming the lion's share, Charles the ships, Eliza the library. But underlying was fear unspoken, the curse's whisper growing louder. As night fell, the storm unleashed fury. Winds howled like banshees, rain drummed insistent rhythms. In their chambers, sleep was fitful. Then, the first scream, Edmund's, shattering the darkness. Charles and Eliza met in the hall, lanterns flickering, hearts pounding. The door to Edmund's room was bolted. They shattered it with a fire poker. Inside, chaos, bedclothes torn, window latched, but Edmund absent. His nightshirt, warm to the touch, lay as if discarded mid-stride. A chill wind swirled, though no draught existed, carrying the scent of grave soil. They searched frantically, attics creaking with age, cellars damp and echoing, but no trace. Barricading in the library, they waited for dawn, Eliza poring over Silas's journals. Entries spoke of rituals to appease the spirits, failed attempts that only angered them. The vanished demand balance, he wrote. Blood for blood, shadow for shadow. As the clock chimed 3, Charles rose to stoke the fire. A gust extinguished the flames, darkness swallowed the room. Eliza relit a candle, but Charles was gone, his coat slumped empty, pipe clattering to the floor. She was alone, the manor alive with malice. With the dawn came no relief, only deeper shadows of confusion and terror. Eliza, now the sole survivor in the echoing vastness of Blackwood Manor, felt the weight of centuries pressing upon her. The storm had abated, leaving a heavy mist that clung to the windows like spectral fingers, blurring the line between inside and out. She ventured forth, her steps echoing on the cold marble floors, calling her cousins' names until her voice grew hoarse. The house responded with silence, broken only by the drip of water from eaves and the distant caw of crows, harbingers of doom. Desperation drove her to the cellars, a labyrinth of stone arches and forgotten crates. Dust motes danced in her lantern's beam, revealing cobwebs thick as veils and walls etched with faded inscriptions, prayers from the witch trial era wards against evil. In one corner, she found a hidden alcove concealed behind a false panel. Inside, a shrine of sorts, candles melted to stubs, a dagger with a hilt carved like a serpent, and a book bound in what appeared to be human skin. Flipping its pages, Eliza uncovered Silas's final ritual, a summoning to confront the curse, invoking the names of the Salem accused. But the discovery brought no solace. Instead, a low moan echoed through the vaults, as if the earth itself groaned. She fled upward, sealing the door, but the manor seemed to shift, corridors lengthening, doors leading to unexpected rooms. Paranoia set in. Was the house alive? An entity feeding on the Blackwood line? By midday, servants arrived. Old Mrs. Harrow, the housekeeper, and young Tom, the stable boy. Their faces paled at Eliza's tale. The curse, Mrs. Harrow whispered, crossing herself. He took Master Silas the same way, gone in a blink, but his shadow lingered on the wall. They searched again, but found only anomalies in Edmund's room. A mirror cracked in a pattern resembling a hangman's noose. In the library, books open to pages on dissolution spells. Word spread to Eldridge Hollow. Constable Harlan Reed, a pragmatic man with a mustache like broom bristles, arrived with deputies. Full play, he declared, noting the locked doors and absence of forced entry. Suspicions fell on the cousins themselves, perhaps a murder-suicide pact or Eliza's hand in it for the inheritance. But no bodies, no weapons, no motives held water. Reed interrogated Eliza, her composure cracking under his gaze. "They just faded," she insisted, her eyes wild. As evening fell, the investigation deepened. Villagers gathered outside, lanterns bobbing like willow, the wisps murmuring of ghosts. Inside, Reed discovered Silas's envelope, unsealed, now a warning that the gathering of 3 would trigger the curse. A spectral debt from Ephraim's judgments. The vanished will claim their kin, dissolving flesh to shadow until the line ends. Night brought renewed horror. As Reed and Eliza sat in the parlor, a chill descended. The fire dimmed, shadows elongated impossibly. Eliza gasped, pointing to the wall, a silhouette forming, human-shaped, writhing as if in agony. It was Edmund's outline, burned into the plaster without heat or flame. Then Charles's appeared beside it, contorted in silent scream. The room filled with whispers, justice, retribution. Reed, pale but resolute, called for a priest. Father Mallory arrived, Bible in hand, incense wafting. An exorcism commenced, Latin chants echoing, but the manor rebelled. Furniture rattled, windows shattered inward without wind. Eliza collapsed, convulsing, her skin growing translucent as if fading. "They're pulling me," she murmured. Mallory sprinkled holy water. She stabilized, but the shadows persisted. In the days following, the mystery compounded. No trace of the cousins emerged, despite drags of the nearby river and searches of the woods. Eliza, confined to bed, deteriorated, her reflections in mirrors dimming. As if her essence ebbed, she dictated a final account. "The curse is real. The witches' spirits, denied justice, dissolve us into the ether, repaying Ephraim's sins threefold." Eliza vanished on the third night, her bed empty, gown folded, journal left open. Reed sealed the manor, declaring it cursed. Investigations by Boston detectives yielded nothing. No secret passages, no poisons, no rational explanation. The case file grew thick with speculation, mass hallucination from moldy ergot bread, elaborate hoax, or supernatural vengeance. Years later, the manor stood abandoned, a magnet for thrill seekers. Reports of apparitions, 3 figures wandering the halls, translucent and mournful. In 1905, an investigator claimed to photograph their shadows, eternally imprinted. The mystery defied reason, a puzzle where pieces evaporated like mist, leaving only questions that chill the soul. To fully grasp the chilling enigma of the 3 cousins' mystery, we must immerse ourselves in the historical and cultural cauldron of 1897 Massachusetts, where the ghosts of the past mingled with the anxieties of a rapidly changing present. This was an era poised on the brink of modernity, yet haunted by the legacies of colonial fanaticism, particularly the Salem witch trials of 1692, whose shadows stretched long into the 19th century. The Salem witch trials, occurring in Essex County, the very region of Eldridge Hollow, remain one of America's darkest chapters. Between February 1692 and May 1693, over 200 people were accused of witchcraft, with 20 executed and 19 hanged, 1 pressed to death and 5 dying in jail. The hysteria stemmed from a toxic, Puritan religious fervor, land disputes, smallpox outbreaks, and frontier wars with Native Americans, fostering paranoia. Spectral evidence, dreams and visions, was admitted in court, leading to convictions based on the intangible. The legacy endured profoundly. By the 19th century, Salem had transformed from a site of shame to one of morbid fascination. In 1897, the trial's influence permeated culture. Nathaniel Hawthorne, descendant of a trial judge, immortalized the guilt in works like The House of the Seven Gables, 1851, set in Salem, exploring inherited curses. His tales reflected a societal reckoning. Massachusetts officially exonerated the accused in 1711, but cultural trauma lingered, manifesting in folklore of haunted houses and vengeful spirits. Spiritualism, booming in the late 1800s, amplified this. Born from the Fox sisters' rappings in 1848 New York, it swept Massachusetts, with seances in Boston parlors summoning the dead. By 1897, amid post-Civil War grief, see over 600,000 dead, millions sought contact with the beyond. Mediums like Madame Blavatsky's theosophy blended Eastern mysticism with Western occultism, echoing Silas Blackwood's pursuits. In Eldridge Hollow, such practices were common, tying into local legends of witch ghosts. 1897 itself was eventful in Massachusetts. The first Boston Marathon ran on April 19, symbolizing progress, but juxtaposed with lingering superstitions. The return of William Bradford's Of Plymouth Plantation manuscript from Britain that May evoked colonial roots, reminding of Puritan severity. Economic shifts, the Panic of 1893's aftermath, fueled class tensions, mirroring the Blackwoods' inheritance disputes. Unsolved mysteries abounded, fueling the era's dread. The Lizzie Borden case of 1892 in Fall River, axe murders of her parents, acquitted but suspected, echoed the inexplicable. Borden's trial highlighted gender roles and madness, parallels to Eliza's scholarly defiance. Other enigmas, the 1885 Boston dismemberment murder, unsolved, buried pirate treasures along the coast, inspiring tales of cursed wealth. Cultural folklore blended fact and fiction. In Essex County, stories of witch descendants persisted. Families shunned for trial ties, houses avoided for hauntings. The vanishing motif drew from Native American legends like the Roanoke colony disappearance, adapted to local curses. Victorian psychology, with Freud's emerging theories, interpreted such events as hysteria. yet many clung to supernatural explanations. In this context, the three cousins' mystery fits seamlessly, a confluence of historical guilt, spiritualist fervor, and rational bafflement. The Blackwoods, as judge descendants, embodied the trial's unresolved justice. Their vanishings, sans bodies evoked dissolution, spells from grimoires popular in occult circles. The case's defiance of reason mirrored the era's tension between science, Darwin, Edison, and the unknown X-rays discovered in 1895, seeming magical. Educationally, this tale illuminates how past traumas shape present fears. Massachusetts' 19th century reforms, abolitionism, women's rights, clashed with lingering Puritanism, creating fertile ground for eerie narratives. Blend in folklore yew trees as witch markers, brimstone scents signaling devils. Thus, the mystery isn't just a story, it's a lens into an unsettling authenticity, where history's bones rattle in the cultural closet. Delving beyond the surface chills of the three cousins' mystery, we uncover layers of symbolic and psychological depth connecting to universal fears, cultural traumas, and the shadowy recesses of human nature. This tale, like a fractured mirror, reflects our innate dread of the inexplicable, the inheritance of sin, and the fragility of identity in the face of the void. Symbolically, the vanishings represent dissolution of self, family, and legacy. The cousins' empty garments evoke shedding mortal coils, a motif in folklore like the Irish banshee or Japanese yuri, where the departed leave husks. In psychological terms, this taps Freud's uncanny, familiar made strange. The manor, a womb-like enclosure, becomes a tomb, symbolizing repressed familial guilt. The shadows burned into walls recall Hiroshima's atomic imprints, but here prefiguring modern horror's eternal echoes of trauma. Thematically, inheritance looms large. The Blackwoods' fortune, tainted by colonial exploitation, mirrors America's Gilded Age inequities. Rockefeller's amassing wealth amid poverty. The curse as debt due critiques inherited privilege. Ephraim's judgments as metaphorical theft of lives, repaid in kind. This connects to cultural trauma. Salem as America's original sin, a hysteria born of othering women outside us, echoing 19th century nativism and gender oppression. Eliza, the intellectual woman, embodies suffragette struggles. Her vanishing silences the progressive voice. Universal fears abound the unknown. The mystery defies reason, akin to Lovecraft's cosmic horror born 1890, influenced by New England lore, where humanity confronts insignificance. No bodies mean no closure, fueling existential dread. What if we simply cease without trace? This psychological abyss mirrors Victorian anxieties, Darwin eroding divine order, industrialization alienating souls. Human nature's darkness surfaces in suspicions, greed motivating vanishings, or collective delusion. Jungian shadows the repressed self, manifest literally, suggesting the cousins' disappearances as metaphors for internal collapse under guilt. Cultural trauma theory applies. Generations carry unprocessed wounds, like slavery or witch hunts, erupting in hauntings. Ominously, the tale probes free will versus fate. The will's claws gathers them, inevitability sealing doom. This fatalism resonates with Calvinist predestination, haunting Massachusetts' psyche. Intellectually, it questions reality. Were the events supernatural or a gas leak inducing hallucinations? Yet the lingering shadows suggest something beyond, a rift where reason fails. In sum, the mystery haunts because it embodies our fears of erasure, ancestral sins, and the thin veil between known and unknowable. It warns, ignore the past, and it consumes you. As our journey through the mists of the three cousins' mystery draws to a close, we are left not with resolution, but with a lingering chill that seeps into the bones, a whisper that echoes long after the tale is told. The Blackwood Manor stands silent now, a relic overgrown with ivy and forgetfulness, yet its secrets pulse like a hidden heart. Edmund, Charles, and Eliza, erased in 1897, remain spectral enigmas, their fates a testament to the inexorable pull of the past. Recap the horror: three heirs, drawn by greed and duty, vanishing within locked walls, leaving only echoes and shadows. Investigations yielded naught but bafflement, the case filed away as unsolved, a label that mocks our quest for understanding. Was it vengeful spirits from Salem exacting triple retribution, Silas's rituals gone awry, tearing reality's fabric, or a cunning plot veiled in supernatural guise. The absence of answers is the true nightmare, a void where reason dissolves. Yet, sightings persist. In 1920, a trespasser fled, claiming translucent figures begged release. In 1950, during demolition attempts, workers vanished briefly, reappearing disoriented. Even today, urban explorers report whispers, cold spots, shadows that follow. This leaves us haunted. What if curses are real, bloodlines doomed? The story lingers, a cautionary spectre, reminding that some mysteries defy reason eternally.